Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel Logic Medico. Today's interesting topic is pathophysiology of COVID-19 or coronavirus. So let's understand how the coronavirus spreads, how it enters the body, enters the cell, the mechanism of action, and how the symptoms are produced and what are the complications for the same. So let's start one by one. So whenever a person who is infected with coronavirus speaks, coughs or sneezes, that particular coronavirus will be in the form of a droplet. The droplets or the droplet nuclei can go up to 3 to 6 meters distance and will remain over there. Because it is heavy, it may fall on the ground, it may fall on the table, chair or the ground. So it can stay over there for 24 hours. Accidentally any other person comes in contact with this droplet nuclei or the surfaces like table, chair or the grills, and they touch their mucosal surface, that is eye, nose or mouth, then the COVID-19 gains access into their body. This COVID-19 enters the respiratory system, then enters the alveolus. So it has got various proteins. Let's see this. It has got like these spikes. That's why it's called coronavirus, because it has got a crown like spikes. This spike protein is the outermost protein. Later we'll see how it joins with receptor. This E is the envelope protein. Okay, and this is the membrane. The membrane, lipid bilayer membrane of the coronavirus is membranous protein. Last but not the least is the nucleus. So it's a nucleocapsid protein. So within that nuclear material is a single stranded positive sense RNA. So coronavirus is a RNA virus. Okay. So this coronavirus, which has gained access into the respiratory system, we'll see later what it does. So within the respiratory system, it enters the alveolus. In alveolus we have two types of cells. Type 1 pneumocytes, which is simple squamous epithelium. It's concerned with the exchange of gases between the pulmonary capillary and the alveolus. And type 2 pneumocyte, which is the surfactant producing cell. Actually this coronavirus comes here and gets anchored to the type 2 pneumocyte. So we'll see this. This is an enlarged version of the type 2 pneumocyte. Okay, you can see that I have written here type 2 pneumocyte. So what happens? This coronavirus, it gains access to type 2 pneumocyte through a receptor called ACE2 receptor. So what is this receptor? It is an angiotensin converting enzyme type 2 receptor. So that is process is called as attachment of the virus. So through what it gets attached? Through the spike protein. You can see that in the picture. The spikes are visible and the pen is pointing at it. ACE2 receptor. Now after the attachment is over, it gains access into the cell. Immediately the protein envelopes and all will get separated and the nuclear material is released. So I told you the nuclear material is RNA. It is a positive sense single stranded RNA. So this RNA immediately utilizes the host ribosomes to generate, the RNA gets embedded to generate this one, RNA dependent RNA polymerase enzyme. It also gives rise to various translation process through which various proteins of the virus are generated. So immediately what happens? The single stranded positive sense RNA will first catch hold of the host ribosome, then it undergoes translation process. There is a decoding of the codes present in the RNA in the form of proteins. These proteins are S protein, N protein, M protein and the membranous protein, nucleocapsid protein, spike protein will be generated over there. So all these proteins will be assembled in the protein pool. This RNA dependent RNA polymerase will polymerize the single stranded RNA into multiple copies of single stranded RNA. So you can see multiple copies of single stranded RNA are produced, multiple copies of proteins are produced. Now what happens when they are produced? They will assemble at one area, that is assembly point. They will assemble and there is new progeny, that is a viral progeny. So many progeny, viral progenies are produced, it will come outside the cell. So once it comes out of the cell, now it's an interesting part. It comes out of the cell, now it will fill up the alveolus. So what happens, these viral particles which is filling up the alveolus will irritate this mucous membrane to induce cough. Subsequently, because of the infective process, the viral particle has come here, the first line of defense, that is macrophage, comes into play. This macrophage, what it does, it releases an inflammatory mediator, that is interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. The main pathophysiology behind this is these inflammatory mediators will damage the pulmonary capillary endothelium. Once the pulmonary capillary endothelium is damaged, we all know that inside the blood vessel the blood is traveling. So what happens? Once there is vasodilatation and increased capillary permeability. Because of vasodilatation and increased capillary permeability, what happens? The fluid, that is the plasma, first leaks out of the capillaries into the interstitium. So that is called as interstitial edema. This is happening in the lungs, okay? So there is an interstitial edema. Subsequently, there is so much of leak of the fluid not only goes outside the blood vessel into the interstitium, but now starts filling up the alveolus. It is called as alveolar edema. Now if all the alveolus in the lung is getting affected simultaneously, then it can result in severe distress to the patient because of lung injury. It is now termed as acute respiratory distress syndrome. Furthermore, the fluid which is leaking out of the capillary, okay, will compress the alveolus like this. It will cause the pressure. Since the fluid is leaking out, the pressure from the outside the alveolus is also high. So that will result in alveolar collapse. So alveolus starts collapsing. Ultimately what happens, because of alveolar edema, because of alveolar collapse, the exchange of gases will be affected. Therefore, decreased amount of oxygen in the blood. It is called as hypoxemia. Once the person has got hypoxemia, therefore there will be sudden onset of breathlessness. I will tell you one more time why there is sudden onset of breathlessness. Because of vasodilatation and increased capillary permeability of the pulmonary capillaries around the alveolus, there is leakage of fluid. This leakage of fluid will cause interstitial edema in the lung. This leakage of fluid can go into the alveoli of the lung and fill up the alveoli, causing alveolar edema and ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, or the fluid which is increased over there due to pressure effect, it can cause collapse of the alveoli of the lung. Ultimately, all this process results in decreased oxygen level in the blood. It is called as hypoxemia. Because of this, there is a sudden onset of breathlessness. This is a very important symptom. Also, because the partial pressure of oxygen is also reduced, and because of hypoxemia, the chemoreceptors get stimulated, the sympathetic nervous system gets stimulated. Therefore, the person will have increased heart rate, increased respiratory rate. This is also one of the signs which we can elicit as doctors. Increased heart rate and increased respiratory rate will be there. So this can be measured in the form of pulse rate. Same in the, when the SpO2 is reducing, the pulse rate will be increasing in the patient. Also to note, the macrophage which has produced interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, which has caused direct damage to the pulmonary capillary, will also pass through the bloodstream to reach the brain. In brain, it is reaching one part. It is the thermoregulatory center in the hypothalamus. So it is stimulating that center, because inflammatory mediator stimulates hypothalamus, causing fever. So the patient will have fever. Why? Because of the inflammatory mediators in the blood has stimulated the hypothalamus in the brain. So the person gets fever. Then also these inflammatory mediators and this macrophage, this virus, everything is accumulating in the alveoli. We want the alveoli to be clear. Why? Because oxygen has to come here and diffuse into the capillary. Carbon dioxide from the capillary has to go out into the alveolus and get eliminated. This has to happen. We can't have so many things inside the alveolus. So we have the inflammatory mediators, the viral particles, the macrophages, everything. So all this, including the leakage of the pulmonary capillary, even this plasma will come out into this alveolus causing alveolar edema. So all this induces cough in the patient, and this cough is associated with sputum. So what is a sputum? It is a net result of inflammation. It includes viral particles, macrophages, the WBCs of our body, and the fluid. Fluid is plasma of our blood. So patient complains of cough with sputum. So body tries to clear. Actually body is very intelligent. Human body is intelligent. So body is trying to clear the alveoli so that exchange of gases continue to happen. But what happens if these stuffs, all these inflammatory mediators, inflammatory cells and viral particles, everything accumulates, and if body is not trained, body is not able to eliminate, that time the lung, which is a spongy like structure, will now become hard and solid like liver. So the process is called as consolidation. Ultimately the patient succumbs to pneumonia. So that is the fate of this, consequence of this. In addition to macrophages, the next set of cells, these macrophages are actually present here only in the alveoli. They are called as alveolar macrophages. But the next set of cells, the neutrophils, the first line of defense, will come into the play. Usually neutrophils are not found in the alveolus, but now it comes over here. These neutrophils will release reactive oxygen species and proteases. They will have two effects. One, direct injury to type 1 pneumocytes. This simple squamous epithelium is there, no? That one, type 1 pneumocytes. So what happens? Exchange of gases will be affected. There are pores in the alveoli. Second, it again causes increased capillary permeability. When there is increased capillary permeability vasodilatation, again there will be interstitial edema, alveolar edema, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, alveolar collapse, again contributing to hypoxemia. Even these enzymes and reactive oxygen species will contribute to the hypoxemia or decrease of saturation level in the body. In addition to this, there are certain complications. So there can be the following complications. Because of so much of vasodilatation and capillary permeability has been increased, so much of fluid from the blood has been lost over here. Because of this, what happens to the heart? First organ complication, the venous return will reduce. So once the venous return is reduced and the total peripheral resistance is reduced, what happens because of this? The end diastolic volume is reduced. End diastolic volume is the volume of blood which is there in the heart at the end of diastole. If end diastolic volume is reduced, therefore the cardiac output, which is approximately 5 to 5.5 liters per minute, that is also reduced. So the heart is not able to fulfill the demands of the tissue. So the person is going for shock. So once the person gets cardiogenic shock because of this, all these events, then the organs, other organs gets affected like kidney, liver and various other vital organs, ultimately resulting in multi-organ dysfunction syndrome, that is due to shock. So these are the possible complications of COVID-19. I hope this video has helped. Thank you for watching and learning from Logic Medico. Kindly consider subscribing to our channel, pressing the bell button, and don't forget to press the thumbs up button showing that you like the video. Thank you for learning from Logic Medico.